Hello and welcome back, folks, to the Week in 7 Questions, today with Professor Joanna Bryson from Berlin. Professor, what are your first impressions of the European Commission's proposal on artificial intelligence?
Yeah, no, I really like it. It's kind of straightforward. Honestly, I think that the DSA covers most of the things I'm really worried about in AI right now. So it was really interesting to see what they were doing with the AI regulation, which I would say is basically humanizing technology. So it's very exciting, the extent to which they're thinking about how do you maintain control over software? How do you make sure that people understand how the AI has been implemented and that they're able to control, the extent to which decisions are automated, things like that. So there's work to be done. I think there's still some open questions about whether it's, what's really banned and this whole idea of levels, whether we can do something that's more smooth and proportionate. I would really like to see it come back down to clarifying that software is just an ordinary manufactured product. So be more continuous with the rest of product law. But basically, I think it's great.
Now, let's make it a bit more relatable to our viewers. What are some of the big changes we can expect to see as a result of AI in the coming decade?
Yeah, this is a hard question because the point is that as we get better with the artificial intelligence, it's becoming just pervasive. And so a lot of the changes are the ones you don't see. I mean, we all know, I hope you know that if you go to China, you don't use money anymore. You just walk in a store, take things, walk away. And those kinds of stores have started here. So the big questions for AI now aren't so much like, oh, where's my giant robot? But rather, how is this altering how we feel? How is it altering our society?
Now, can AI help us tackle some of the challenges we're facing? For example, when it comes to climate change.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why I'm still working so hard on artificial intelligence and its governance. The thing that's happening is that we're changing everything about power and about knowledge because the digital is necessarily sort of democratizing. It means we can transfer information so quickly around the place. So this is, I think this is our only hope for really tackling huge problems like the pandemic. Well, obviously we had pandemics before, but bad things happened. But also like climate change. This is the first time we've had to deal with something that big. But it's also absolutely critical that we get on top of how we govern and how we maintain freedom and how the different countries relate to each other. All of these things are changed by artificial intelligence and more generally by the digital revolution.
And what about privacy in the future? Will AI and quantum computing jeopardize it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's already under jeopardy right now. And that's why I've moved to a school of governance. It's really critical that we figure out how to protect ourselves. But we've always had states that were more powerful than individuals. But there's a lot of individuals. And so it's an ongoing problem. That how do we secure our capacity for freedom of thought and to be different, but not to hurt or disrupt others.
What are the biggest other dangers resulting from uncontrolled AI development?
Well, I think right now one of the biggest problems we have is that we have new sectors of the economy coming up, and they're underregulated, and they're getting too much power and too much money, and they're getting to a size where it's difficult for democracies to regulate them. So that's why the innovative work the EU does is so important. It shows how collections of countries can come together, and I'd like to see more collections of countries all over the world come together and defend their interests in that way. But it's not so much the AI itself that's a problem. It's the way what we do with it, what other people are doing with it, and that's what makes it regulatable because we can regulate other people.
Now, is there cause for concern in the way authoritarian regimes like China are beginning to use AI?
Yes, absolutely. But only to an extent, because the point is that authoritarian regimes have always been able to make it really horrible to live, and AI is just another sort of tool in the toolbox. The real question is, the issue of surveillance, the issue of how people can get what they need from governments and getting that balance right. And I think the power of the Chinese people is still under-realized. That they also are having court decisions go against the government, so that obviously some of the minority populations are being extremely badly treated, and I don't want to diminish that. I'm terrified not only for the Uyghurs but also for colleagues in Hong Kong. But at the same time, the power of the digital comes to everyone. So and it's not that nice to be under Syria either without AI.
And Professor, how close is humankind to singularity, the point beyond which superintelligence begins upgrading itself? Should we prevent it or prepare for it?
Well, I have an unusual take on that, which is that it happened 10,000 years ago. That people talk about, so the singularity is when you have a system that can learn how to learn, and then you expect exponential growth. Well, that's humanity. That's why we have a problem with sustainability. That's humanity since we've had writing. Since the last 10,000 years. It's not actually that long. So we need to get on top of that. It's absolutely a problem. We're consuming resources in an unsustainable way. But it's not that machines are going to go and do that to us or something. Artifacts are much more fragile than life. So what we need to understand is that technology is an extension of ourselves, and we're the ones we need to worry about.
Thank you very much, Professor Joanna Bryson. Thank you all for watching, and see you again next week with another surprise guest.